Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. We are talking about the special session of the General Assembly that just opened today, talking about education and education in the midst of the pandemic. The Governor Lee called the special session, is proposing several bills, and you kind of heard us lay some of that out in the beginning here, and we have with us via Zoom Beth Brown. She is president of the Tennessee Education Association, and Amanda Kail, president of the Metro Nashville Education Association. We have several calls, so let's get to the phones. Let's go to Carolyn. Hello, Carolyn.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, go right ahead.
Well, I'm a grandmother, and fortunately I just retired a year ago, well, almost 2 years now, and my grandson is on virtual and doing very well.
Oh, good.
I have to applaud those teachers because they working very hard, and you can tell, I was assessed that the teachers can tell which students are having the problem, and they don't need Governor Lee to be in there involved. They know their job. I can tell which students are having a problem. And I appreciate those teachers because my grandchildren in Tennessee are doing very well in virtual learning. It has not hampered us. We are doing the job that the teachers request. And I also think it's part of the parents or grandparents to stand with those children. If they have that availability, go and find family members that can assist you with those teachers and with your family members. And I just want to thank the teachers, and I hope you do get a raise. You deserve it, because God knows I couldn't be in there every day, and I'm glad I'm retired. Thank you.
All right, Carolyn. I would say Carolyn's grandchild is lucky to have her. There are a lot of parents who just don't have the time or unable to be there, and I feel like there are kids as a result that are falling through the cracks, and that's kind of the heartbreaking thing. But Caroline is there, and that is great. I'll let either of you comment on that. Who wants to take that call? Amanda, how about you?
Sure. Yes, thank you so much to Carolyn, who is able to help her grandson, and thank you for your kind words. Yeah, we understand that there are definitely parents that this puts in a hard place. You know, I wish that we had the ability to also provide more childcare than we're already providing. MNPS has set up childcare facilities in partnership with the YMCA. We have, drop-in sites for help with technical help. We're working hard to try to fill those gaps, but it is a hardship. And again, this is where our communities can help us, right? If we can work together, with other, nonprofits and other groups, within our community to really help make sure our kids are getting the help they need. That would be wonderful. But yes, it does continue to be a struggle. And I know a lot of teachers who are, really trying to make sure they can reach every student regardless, but it is a struggle.
Right. Okay, let's go to Debbie, and Beth, I'll have you comment on this next call. Debbie, go right ahead.
Hi, I am not a grandmother. I also do not have children in school, but I grew up in Nashville and went to public schools. One thing I want to say is, hear for the teachers that try and try hard, and hear for Carolyn, what she said. And what I want to say is, how dare that woman that was on Channel 5 News that said that the students not reading was the teacher's problem. It was the teacher's fault. It was the teacher's fault. How dare her? And what I also want to say is, I don't know how in the world I mean, it is the saddest thing to say, but it is a catch-22 of student in-school learning and virtual. I don't know how they do it, but more power to everybody that's trying to make the decisions that they're trying to make. What I would like to say is, how is private school managing? Man, I know a lot of people in private schools, and they are managing, and they are going right along, and they're progressing and going to school every day. And I don't know the difference there. I really don't. And but it's something to look at, for heaven's sakes. The last thing I want to say is a sad situation. A young lady that I know of that pulled herself up by her bootstraps because she dropped out of school, got her GED, got her teaching degree, and was a teacher in Murfreesboro. At the end of May, at the end of school last year, she quit. She said, it is not worth it. And that is the saddest thing about her and what she did. But she had it. Now, I know that's Rutherford County, not Davidson County, but trying to cope with the virtual, trying to cope with the type of student she had, the type of parents she had to deal with. It was a sad situation, and I know I've heard that Metro teachers were quitting and had quit. Something's got to give, and to think about the virus, the virus shot. That the teachers are so far down on the list to get the shot. It's just unbelievable. And that's all I want to say. And thank you for letting me say what I wanted to say.
Well, Debbie, there's a lot there. You said a lot. I want to start, Beth Brown. You can both take a quick stab at this. I'm gonna go through a couple of things she said. But she said teachers are so far down on getting the shot. I want to ask, where are they? Where are you hearing? Are you trying to move them up? Is there any push to move teachers up? Is this a county by county thing? Beth, let me ask you that. Where are teachers when it comes to getting the vaccine?
One of the things that TEA did advocate for was sooner access to the vaccine for educators. Educators have been moved up at the priority list to Group 1B. And in some counties across the state, educators have started receiving vaccines. The problem now is the supply and demand. We're not actually receiving doses, and so everything's kind of been put on pause. In addition, my understanding is the inoculation of educators has been paused so that we can make sure that our most elderly citizens are vaccinated first. So they have been moved up in the priority list, but supply and demand is a real issue, and so it is posing a challenge to getting vaccines into educators so that they are then safe to resume in-person instruction. So you say 1C, which I don't grasp that. When do you think they will actually get a vaccine? Is it 2 months or 2 weeks, or do you have some sense of when that may be? That's a really hard answer to give, Ben, because we don't know when we're going to get the needed number of vaccines from the federal government. But to give you some context, 1B is up there after first responders and medical workers. So they have been pushed way up into the priority list. Okay, good. All right, I want to ask Amanda Kail. She asked about private school. How is private school managing? They seem to be going along fine, is what she said, and they're managing. I would question, are private schools going along fine? Are we seeing outbreaks in private schools that maybe aren't publicized in the way they would be in a public school? Or just what about frustration from parents who may see private schools in, public school isn't? How is private school doing it?
Well, I would say there's a couple of big differences. First of all, the biggest being that MNPS has approximately 86,000 students. And our students are a really diverse group of kids, not only racially, culturally, but economically. And that means that we have to really differentiate and make sure we reach all of those students. The other thing that I would say is a big difference is that a lot of the private schools that I have seen people compare us to have a tuition of somewhere in between, $20,000, $30,000 a year. Whereas MNPS, I think our per pupil spending is something around 12,000. So, just in terms of the resources that we would need to equal what kind of resources private schools have for 86,000 students, I would love to see that kind of funding come pouring into MNPS. And one of the things I like to bring up is imagine what a different scenario we would be in at MNPS if we had small class sizes already because we had enough teachers, because we had competitive teacher salary. Imagine what a different scenario we would be in if we had updated ventilation systems in all of our classrooms. We still have schools with window units. We have schools with significant mold problems. Imagine the difference of where we would be at if not only every kid had their own device, but as a city, as a state, we treated the internet as a public utility. And so we didn't have to run around and provide, school districts weren't charged with providing internet to 86,000 families. There's just a lot of things that we're asking for our public schools to do to pick up for the holes that are there that private schools don't have to do. Their families already have internet. Their families have the resources to really make all of this stuff work. And we don't. So, if we want our schools to function at that level, I would love to see us have the same level of funding that those private schools do.
And quickly, Beth Brown, the other comment she made was from a person who was interviewed on Channel 5, apparently, who said teachers are responsible for the reading declines that we're seeing with students in the midst of this pandemic. She was upset by that. Debbie was. I imagine you are too. But what do you say if people are out there saying something like that?
I will tell you that Tennessee's educators have worked harder this year than they've ever worked in their professional lives. What we've seen across the state is just a tremendous effort to meet students' needs. I think that statements like that are not taking into account all of the other impacts on student learning, all of the other factors that play into a student's academic success. Mental, social, and emotional needs are real. Physical needs are real. They are impacting student learning this year more than ever. And so I appreciate Debbie's defense of Tennessee's educators because they certainly deserve it.
All right, we're going to take a break. We're going to take more calls. So hold on the line, take more calls. We'll be back right after this.